Hi Claire, it's Fancy, and the first thing I did was rotate it 180 degrees, so the dark visual weight is at the bottom, and I think these two smaller, so this one's slightly bigger, and this one's or bigger than this one actually. So these two smaller points of emphasis, I think, balance this bigger one pretty well. So it's a nice asymmetrical balance that I think is on its way to success. So you said you also um, tried to gradate. So while these are points of emphasis in that they gradate away from themselves, so from light to dark and from dark to light, you also mentioned that you were trying to gradate within the pathways. And I think that's kind of a fun and intriguing kind of strategy that you have. This is pretty neat. So it's a little bit of a deviation from your standard point of emphasis, and I think that's good. But you're worried about the gradations within the pathways. You feel that they are a little rough. So let's take a look at that. So we have this one, and if you kind of squint your eyes and you stare at it, it's not gradating until you get to about here, and then you have a darker value that you don't see anywhere else. So that's not really gradation. And it doesn't have to be. I mean, you could keep them flat. But if I would probably gradate this one simply because it's moving away from the point of emphasis. So maybe starting about here, I would start to try to get darker, darker, keep getting a little bit darker. So we understand that that's a gradation. Right now we don't. So then we're looking at this one, and it does gradually get darker. So here you have predominantly a lighter gray mixed with a darker gray. Here it kind of flip-flops, got a little bit lighter gray mixed with predominantly darker grays and darker grays still. So it is gradating kind of slowly, and I think that's a good method because if it gradates too much, you kind of ruin the point of emphasis that's gradating across the pathways. Also with the point of emphasis, and because you are kind of gradating um, within the pathways as well, you want to have a feeling that these gradations across the pathways are equal value contrast. And, for this one I do. Obviously, you see light, darker, darker. When you're moving in the same direction, light, darker, darker. This dark, because it's gradating, is going to be a little bit different than this one. But this one also changes. So it's kind of an interesting concept that you have here, and I think it's worth working with. So just note that as a point of emphasis, you're trying to gradate away from itself across the pathways. They need to be um, equal value contrast, but as this gradation changes to the opposite side, you're going to have a different contrast arrangement across pathways. So just make sure they look like they're working. And I think generally they do look like they're working. They're just different than the opposite side. What's not consistent is the center hub. So here it's a square, here it's a triangle, and it's smaller. So this is small, this is a larger square, uh, this is solid, this is almost solid except for here and here. And then this is all broken up. So, oh, well, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm looking at this as the square. Okay, forget that. Here it looks like your square has shifted from this, it's no longer this is in the center, and then this is no longer in a center. So they're all kind of inconsistent. I think that this one works the best. Maybe starting with a small, low contrast square or diamond shape. Can you do that here? Can you get that same feeling here and here? So they need to be consistent, and this seems to be working well. I think overall, this is not kind of like the way that you've kind of broken up the module is kind of random. Um, Usually it's a little bit more structured, but it doesn't bother me because I can see that you've done the same kind of treatment in all of the pathways. So I think that that's working. It's just different. Here, gradating lighter. These two areas in the corners, somehow they don't seem to, this one's okay because you have enough of a gradation to tell what's happening. This one, maybe it's just broken up too much. Maybe remove, you know, one of these, this triangle, or remove this. I think I might remove the small triangle and see how it goes. I think that would be helpful. And up here, the same thing. I would simplify this a little bit more to look more kind of organic like these do, or more of a irregular polygon. That's what I'm trying to say. This is very triangular, and all your other pathways are kind of broken up with these interesting irregular polygons. So fix the corners, I think. Then I'm looking at this here. So dark, medium. I don't quite like this because it seems like, oh, it's going to jog off over here, or does it keep going straight? So for me, this little dark piece is confusing. So think about what you can do with that. All right, I think you're good. You need to make these consistent. You need to fix the corners and decide what you're going to do with this little piece. This could probably, well, you're going da, da, da. Okay, you're reversing. I think that's fine. All right, good job. And you know, if you can keep kind of working on those gradations if you want. Like I said, this one isn't a gradation. It doesn't go dark enough. It's flat, flat. Well, this is kind of light. Stays pretty flat. So if you want this to gradate, then work in some more values. Immediately save this one. Go into File, Save As. Leave this one intact and make changes to a duplicate so you can always get back. All right, sorry this is so long.